I put a spell on you because you're mine. You better stop the things you do. I ain't lying. That awkward. I'm trying to sing, my phone going off. Like, what? Hey y'all, it's Ashley at Bookishrealm. Listen, the way that this whole camera situation is set up, and like, I'm not tall, but kind of like the way things are set up right now, like you can't really see the top. So I'm just gonna stand. And what you see is what you see. What you get is what you get. But hello, welcome to Bookishrealm. If you're new here, welcome back if you've already been here before. As you can see from the title of this video, we are here with an announcement as well as my October reading plans. I am amped, I'm excited, I'm ready. So the first thing that we're gonna be talking about today is Blackoweenathon. If you ain't heard about it, I don't know where you been. Yeah, I need you to get with it. Blackoweenathon is created and has been hosted by Bree from Lockbooktition. That's my best friend. She a real bad. Okay, I'm done. I'm really done with the theatrics and the antics. Anyway, Bree has been doing Blackoweenathon for the past 3 years. This is the third year going. Bree, this is my message to you. I am so proud of you. I remember when you first came up with the idea for Blackoweenathon and how much energy and content and just the amazing things that you've done with this readathon. I could not be more honored to be a part of this, and I'm so happy to call you my friend. Y'all, Bree works so hard on this every single year, and it's just seeing her do this every year and put out so many amazing things. I can't help but to be so proud of her. So Bree, you know, we got to give you your props, because you know we give our credit. We're gonna give you your flowers now, baby. So Blackoweenathon, third year running. It is a readathon that takes place every year in October, and the primary goal is to read books by Black authors in crime fiction. So it includes thrillers, horror, mystery, and if you need the recommendations for that, you got to go to Bree. Bree is the ultimate, and I must say that this readathon challenges me every single year. It challenges me every single year because these are not genres that I typically read in, and so by hosting this readathon, Bree encourages me to expand my boundaries, expand what I'm picking up, and read more widely. So there are some prompts, but first I would like to say that Bree has created this awesome apothecary box. If you did not know, it's amazing. I'm going to leave it down in the description below. It's in an Etsy shop, and she has several different tiers that you can choose from. Includes some beautiful things that she has worked super hard on. Amazing work. Make sure you check that out. There are a lot of us that are a part of this readathon, so I'll make sure that I link all of the co-hosts down in the description box below. There are going to be reading sprints, which I will make sure I will share. Bree has created a lovely, it's a calendar. Let's say spreadsheet. Bree has created a lovely calendar that lets you know when we all will be doing reading sprints throughout the month. Please be advised that it's subject to change. Bree has said that. You never know what could come up. Things may change around, but for right now, the schedule is as it is set by Bree with this calendar. Bree has also created this lovely running document of recommendations. So if you're looking for recommendations for the prompts and you want to get some assistance because maybe this is not an area that you're typically used to reading in, then I will link that down below in the description box as well. Bree also has great recommendation videos. She just recently did a list. I mean, it was a hefty list of recommendations. I'll make sure that I link that video in the card symbol above. And then Bree has also done her TBR. If you want to get some ideas from that, I will link that video in the card symbol above. And Bree already has done a lot of recommendations for Black writers that work specifically in these genres or write specifically in these genres. So I would recommend checking out a lot of her backlist content as well if you're looking for even more recommendations, because your girl be giving recs on recs on recs. And so I need y'all to get with the program and go ahead and check that stuff out and give my girl the love that she deserves. So we're gonna go ahead. If you know, I threw my phone on the floor because I was so aggravated that I was getting notifications, but I'm going to pick my phone back up so that I can read you the prompts. The main thing that you need to understand and realize: these books must be by Black authors. That is the point. You don't have to be Black to participate. You must read, however, you must read books by Black authors. It is a celebration of authors that identify as Black, and we want to make sure that we're uplifting those voices during this readathon. So there is a bingo board in addition to these prompts, and the bingo board includes a few additional prompts. One of the ones that stood out to me that I also think stood out from Bree Cherie Reads is the international pick, which I'm definitely going to have to do some digging on that. I think that will be an interesting way for me to go outside of my traditional borders in which I read. But the prompts are: 1, read a book by an underrated author. Prompt number 2 is a book set in the American South. Prompt number 3 is a book published in the 20th century. Prompt number 4 is a backlist book, meaning that it was published 10 plus years ago. Prompt number 5 is a recently published book. And prompt number 6 is a book with queer representation that could either be within the characters or the author themselves identify as queer. And so I have picked out books for these prompts. I don't have a book for each prompt. I think I have a book for each prompt, except I covered 2 prompts with 1 book. You'll see what I'm talking about, because I'm probably not making any sense right now, but you'll get it. So the first one that I'm going to do is the book by an underrated author, and that is Detective It's Detective Dove by Zuni Blue, and this is the mean girl who never speaks. This is about a girl who comes to the school. She's a new girl. She never speaks to anybody. She never smiles at anybody, and she definitely doesn't play with anybody. She just doesn't engage. And so people are thinking, is she mean? And maybe she is, maybe she's not. So what we find here is that our Detective Dove, who is our character right here, is going to solve the case and answer the question of whether this girl is really truly mean or not. This appears to be a children's book series. I was thinking it would be middle grade, but kind of looking at the text and kind of the sentence structures, I'm looking at more of a children's read. This is a mystery series. There are other books in the series, but I've had this one on my shelf for a while, so I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to pick it up and give it a go and introduce maybe something new to myself for Blackoweenathon. The next one that I have is another one that I think it could fit multiple prompts, because I can't remember the publishing year. It might technically be a backlist because it should be more than 10 years old. I'm pretty sure it's more than 10 years old, but I'll have to double check. But either way, I'm going to use this one for the prompt of a book set in the South, and that is The Dark 30 Southern Tales of the Supernatural. This is by Patricia McKissick, and artwork is done by Brian Pickney. If you do not know this now. Patricia McKissick and Brian Pickney are 2 of the biggest names when it comes to Black children's books writers and illustrators. They are phenomenal, very, very well known in the children's book industry, and it's been a while since I've picked up a book by either one of them. I'm not saying that I'm proud of myself. However, when I found out that they did this book together, I was like, oh, this would be a perfect fit for Blackoweenathon. It is a collection of short stories that kind of illustrates that twilight period. It's about 30 minutes before it gets dark, that twilight. And these stories kind of revolve around horror and supernatural and spooky elements, and they take place across different spans of time from the Civil War up until the Civil Rights Movement, tying in a lot of Black history and Black culture. Very, very excited to read this. I'm still debating on whether I'm going to get a library copy or whether I'm just going to go ahead and pick up a physical copy, because with Patricia McKissick and Brian Pickney on it, I just highly doubt I'm not going to enjoy it. It's just one of those things where you kind of know, like, 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, I'm going to enjoy, or you could even say 9.9, because 99%, I am going to enjoy this book. So I'm leaning more on the side of picking up my own copy, but I do not have it just yet because I hadn't made up my mind before this moment right now. Okay, so for the prompt recently published, I am going to go with an author that actually has stepped out of what they traditionally write, and this is a book by Shay Sanders. So if you know anything about Shay Sanders, she is very, very well known for writing Black romance. I have read a lot of Shay Sanders' Backlist. I adore her as a writer. I love her writing. There's so many of her series that I'm just fully immersed in and completely enjoy. And I saw on Instagram a while ago, this was because this book came out in July, that she decided that she wanted to go back to writing thrillers and mysteries because that was a genre that she really, really enjoyed. And so in July, she released a book called They Never Tell. So this is going to be interesting because it's not the usual area in which she writes, and she's been publishing a lot of Black romance, but she's going back to what she loves and enjoys. And I'm really excited to see what she's going to do with this, since it's an exploration into a different genre. It is about a group of parents who were dedicated to making sure that their kids got into the best schools, got the best grades, basically were these elite students, and they made a pact doing this. Time passes, everything kind of works out the way they want it to work out. These kids are all academically prepared, athletes, etc. And then somebody dies. And then the parents make another pact saying that they're going to make sure that the police and the community never truly find out what happened that night. And so I'm excited to see what Shay is going to do with this. I think this tackles a couple of difficult themes. I think there is a content warning for sexual assault, so be mindful of that going into it. I had briefly kind of browsed some reviews and I saw that word come up several times in some reviews, so I don't know what it's going to look like explicitly, but because I saw that so many times, I just want to make sure that y'all are prepared just in case you decide to pick this one up as well. All right, so the next book that I have is Dead Dead Girls, and this is by Nikisa Afia, and this is the Harlem Renaissance mystery book number 1. I got this recommendation from Bree in the video that she did. She actually had the opportunity to do an interview with the author, so I'll make sure that I link that down below in the description box. This is a book that is set in Harlem in 1926, where we follow a character by the name of Louise, and she works at this cafe, goes to this club or speakeasy called the Zodiac by night, and she's living her life, but at the same time there are Black women like her that are being murdered, and she's kind of low-key like avoiding it, ignoring it, until a girl shows up dead in front of the cafe. I believe it's either the cafe or the speakeasy. And so then she ends up getting into this altercation with a police officer, and she has two options: either help them solve the case and the mystery, or go to jail. And so she decides to help them with the case. I'm really excited about the series. I know a lot of people who have talked about it. I know a couple of cozy mystery channels that have also talked about this series, and they've really, really enjoyed it. And so I'm definitely looking forward to reading this one and hopefully continuing the rest of the series. And the last one that I have, which is a book that takes a book that was published in the 20th century in a Backlist title, is My Soul to Keep by Tananarive Due. I actually have read most of this book. It was me, Bree, Chloe, Erica, and Harley. I believe that I feel like it was the 5 of us who read this. I feel like I'm right about that, but this would have been like 2 years ago now. And when we were just reading random books together after we read The Deep together, I believe that we did end up reading My Soul to Keep. And I know that I did read a lot of this because my annotations, I don't know if y'all can see this, but my annotations are in this. I believe that I did not have enough time to finish it before we actually met that night to discuss the book. And so there's parts of this book that I had not read, and I remember pieces and bits of it, but not really. So I want to start it from the beginning. And I know how much Erica and Bree kind of like enjoy going through these books in this series. So I thought I would pick it back up. So it follows 2 characters, Jessica and Dawit, and she's a Black journalist. He's an immortal, and they basically are going to pay for what they do. That's all I'm going to say. Like, this book is really, really interesting from what I can remember of it. It is an extremely interesting book. That's probably a horrible description, but really on the back it says that Jessica's an African-American journalist, as ambitious as she is bright. She's chasing the biggest story of her life, a story that strikes closer to home than she knows. DeWitt is an immortal whose ancient thirst for wisdom leads him to break the first commandment of his kind, not to fall in love. Together they're about to pay for the ultimate price for their ambition and their desire. Like literally, like that is a description of the book without giving too much of it away. So I am excited to dive back into this one. All right, y'all. So that is it for my Blackoweenathon kind of TBR. I do have some other things that I'm interested in possibly checking out, but I thought I would keep it relatively small and make sure I had enough books just to meet all of the prompts. As I stated before, I will make sure I leave all of the relevant information down in the description box below for you all to check out. I have some other stuff kind of shifting over, even though I still have my, it's still spooky season. So I'm gonna continue to wear my little witch's hat. I have some other things that I want to read in October, but I primarily kept my other reads for the rest of October relatively low because I have a lot of projects planned for October that I'm not really talking about yet. And so that's gonna be a huge chunk of my October reading plans, and since I'm not going to talk about it, I didn't want to overload myself, and plus I'm doing a separate reading plans video for the comics, graphic novels, and manga channel, so you see how it's finna be a lot. It's finna be a lot, but there are a couple things that I want to show you. The first of those things being it would be night in Caracas. Somebody please tell me, like, I feel like I hear it and then I still end up saying the city wrong. I really do. If y'all did not watch that video, I am doing an all around the world reading challenge, and the 3 countries that I ended up choosing first were Venezuela, Paraguay, and Panama. This is the book that I ended up picking for Venezuela, especially because Angela gave me this title as a recommendation. I was looking at it and considering it, but when Angela told me that she had read it, I was like, okay, I'm definitely just gonna go ahead and pick this one up under her recommendation. So this takes place in Venezuela, where we follow a main character, Adelaida. I'm probably saying her name wrong. At the start of the novel, she is burying her mother, which is the only family that she has left. She's pretty much lived a comfortable life, but now things are changing in Venezuela, which is so interesting because I'm currently also in the middle, which I will show y'all. I was debating on whether to show y'all these stacks of books, but I'm going to show it to you anyway so you have some context. I am currently reading a nonfiction book just about the culture of Venezuela, and it does talk a little bit about the shift in the political system and how it affected the economy and how things just completely go left. And so we see that reflected in this book, where she ends up having to stand in line for bread, knowing that 9 times out of 10 she's probably not going to get access to food. She is left in a position where she has to do some pretty gruesome things just to survive, because the country itself is falling into anarchy. And how do you survive in a country where citizens are pretty much pitted against each other? And so this is a book that's really capturing the real life experiences of those in Venezuela. And I am excited is not the word to use when describing this book. I think that I'm going to learn a lot by reading this book, and it terrifies me about how much that country as a whole has gone through and is currently going through. So I also have I have a couple of other things planned out for Paraguay and for Panama, but I'm not going to share those here. You'll see the rest of the information in the Around the World reading vlog, which will come out at the end of October. So what's interesting is I've already started filming the vlog. I just want to show you these real quick. I'm not going to go into any explanation for this, but I already started filming for the Around the World reading vlog, the first one, and I realized that I needed some context for the countries that I was going to be covering, meaning that I didn't just want to read the books from the countries and just call it a day. I actually wanted to learn stuff. And so while I don't have the capacity to read a adult nonfiction book for every single country that I'm going to be covering, there are some really, really good resources in terms of like children's nonfiction that I found at my library that I'll be making my way through next month. Please understand that I do know that a lot of this stuff is written from a Western perspective, so sometimes I have to take some of the information that I'm getting with a grain of salt, or at least cross-reference it with even more reliable resources, but I thought that this was a good starting place. So I have one that is the people and culture of Venezuela. I also have another one that is just Panama. I have Cultures of the World, which is a standing publication that we used to get, and these come in different editions, and they update the editions every year with new information. So the first one I have is Cultures of the World Paraguay, and then the one that I am currently reading, you see my little sticky note, I don't know if y'all can see it right there, my sticky note in it, this is Cultures of the World Venezuela, and I'm not very far into this one. I am only about 9 pages in, and already, listen y'all, I read 9 pages of that book and then went down like hours of just internet reading. So the vlog is going to be interesting, y'all. I'm just telling y'all, the vlog is going to be interesting, and it's going to be long. Okay, I literally only have 4 more books to show you. Honestly, that's what I'm genuinely serious when I say that I am not making this an extensive reading plans, because of the fact that I just got a lot going on next month. So I am including Queen of the Tiles by Hannah Alkoff. This is our patron buddy read for the month. This past month, we were doing a Mari and the Night Brothers, or Mari and the Great Game. And what I do is I do a reading vlog, and I share my thoughts, which is exclusive to my Patreon. So Queen of the Tiles focuses on, as you would think, Scrabble. And we follow a main character. I want to make sure I get her name right. It is Najwa. We follow her as she finally goes back into Scrabble competitions after her best friend Trina has passed away. And she is really grappling with that death and thinking about, you know, I'm going back to my first competition. It's going to be awkward without Trina being there. But what she notices is that other competitors are not as like down about it, or are not grieving as much as she's grieving, because they're ready to take Trina's throne. She was known for being great at Scrabble, was fierce competitor, and everybody's like, now that she's gone, we can step into the place that she did have. But what ends up happening is that Trina's Instagram becomes reactivated, and posts and cryptic messages are starting to be posted on the Instagram, trying to let people know that her death was not as straightforward as people are assuming it to be. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading this one. Absolutely love this cover. I think it's beautiful. The next one that I have here is Ben and Beatrice by Catalina Gamara, and this is, I believe, a retelling of Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare. So we follow 2 characters, Ben and Beatrice. Beatrice is definitely kind of pissed, as we all were, after the results of the 2016 election, which tried to erase her identity as a queer biracial woman. And she is very adamant about her political beliefs and definitely supporting family. And she has a best friend that is also her cousin, and so she would do anything for that cousin. And she ends up, as a result of that, she ends up having to spend a week at Cape Cod at a mansion of Ben Montgomery, who is white and walks a life of privilege, but is also kind of grappling with his own political beliefs from a very conservative family. And so I'm sure that these 2 are going to challenge each other. I'm really interested in reading this, and I'm kind of debating whether I want to read Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare before I read this, so I have better context of it and see how the adaptation goes in terms of the original source material, because that is a Shakespeare play that I have not read, and I'm sure I could find a copy of it and read it fairly quickly. But absolutely cannot wait to pick this one up. The next thing that I have here is a romance recipe by Ruby Barrett. This is from the Cadorus line, which is an imprint of Carina Press, and this is about 2 characters by the name of Amy and Sophie. Amy runs this restaurant that is on the brink of failure, so she decides to bring in Sophie, who is a reality TV show cook extraordinaire. But unfortunately, Sophie is like, I don't want to be that. I just kind of want to be able to cook. And so Sophie is starting to realize, Amy is starting to realize that she can't depend upon Sophie as much as she thought she could. And so Sophie is just trying to grapple with her feelings, and then these blooming romantic feelings for her boss. I love foodie-based books, okay? I love any food manga, food graphic novels, food comics, prose, poetry, and this is a foodie romance, which I'm definitely looking forward to reading. The next book that I have is from a person that I adore and follow here on, well, I don't know how I found her. I feel like it was through BookTube, but she does a lot of writing based things and watches BookTube and is very involved in the BookTube community and does this amazing content on her channel, which is written in melanin. And the book that I'm talking about is We Are the Origin, which is by C.M. Lockhart. I'm so happy that she reached out to me and asked me if I would like a copy of this book. And the plan is for me to read this book and then get her on here for an author interview, which is amazing because I've really been wanting to dive into doing author interviews. And I think that this will be a wonderful and excellent place to start. This is the first book in an epic fantasy series that follows a group of assassins who must work together to save the gods and their realm from destruction. And this cover is everything. Oh my gosh, this cover is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. So I cannot wait to dive into this one. Whoo, child, y'all, that wasn't long enough. I don't understand how. I feel like I just talk a lot. Maybe I just talk a lot because I'm thinking like, dang, I talked about a less number of books than I typically do in my reading plans. And I still ended up with a fairly long video. I can't win. I can't win for nothing. Anyway, remember to check out everything in the description box below. I know it's going to be a lot for y'all to check out. I hope you're all participating in Blackoweenathon. Let me know in the comments below what you plan to read in October. If you're participating in Blackoweenathon, once again, shout out to Bree for this amazing readathon, and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of it. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notification. Looking for ways to support the channel and follow me on social media. All those links will be down in the description box below. And I'll be back with another video soon. Toodle!